This is Law of Attraction Explored. I'm Tim Grimes. If you'd like a free guide that explains the hidden link between relaxation and the law of attraction, or if you want more information about my books or my coaching, you can visit radicalcounselor.com. Enjoy the episode. So I thought today that we could go back to discussing a very, very effective way to feel better quickly and also to utilize these law of attraction principles. And it involves one of my favorite techniques and ways to feel better, which is talking out loud to yourself and also talking to yourself in general. So one thing that I've liked to do for a long time before I even got into the law of attraction, I've discussed it in many places, including in a chapter in The Joy of Not Thinking, is talk out loud to myself. When we talk out loud to ourselves, we can really change how we feel quickly. As I like to say, it's like that inner negative nagging voice in our head is neutralized by that out loud voice that we use. And today I thought I could just share with you a few things that I found helpful and that I know that many of you will find helpful that you can do by talking out loud and just talking to yourself in general. The first thing that I wanted to share is that really a wonderful way to distance yourself from your thoughts is not just to talk out loud to yourself, but also to imagine when you're in a problematic situation or you feel overwhelmed, imagine that your friend was in that situation. Imagine that your friend or loved one was in that situation. And then think about what kind of advice you would give them. What is the advice that you would give a friend in such a situation? Now, me being a counselor and coach, it's relatively easy for me to do this because, I'm talking to people about these ideas often. So it's not that hard for me when I feel stressed or overwhelmed to be like, you know what, Tim, what would I tell a client? But you don't have to do this professionally in order to do this. Anybody can do this. You could just think, you know what would I tell my friend if they were in this exact same situation? And, you can write that down or you can think about it. But I think a very effective way of doing it, obviously, is to actually speak out loud, pretend that you're talking to your friend, and, tell them what you think they should do to feel better. Just giving yourself this little distance by, pretending, imagining it's a friend instead of yourself who is going through these difficulties is usually enough to create a shift in your thinking and to provide you with some solutions. And this is doubly true in my experiences when you do it out loud. You speak out loud, like, you can take a walk and make sure you're by yourself, or, you can just, these days with cell phones, you can just stick earbuds or whatever in your ears, and people, if they, run by you on the street, they'll just assume you're speaking to somebody else, not talking to yourself. But just, take a walk and start talking to your friend who is going through this problematic time and tell them what you think they should do, what you would suggest that they do. Wonderful, practical way of helping to resolve issues that we have in our lives. Talking out loud about your problems is a great way to resolve the problems. A similar thing you can do, and something that you don't necessarily have to do out loud, is imaginatively consider what somebody that you respect or a teacher you really like, what they would tell you about your situation. You can do this out loud too, but this is something that a lot of us probably are going to feel more comfortable doing, imaginatively when we're relaxed, lying down, sitting down, our eyes closed. I'm not a huge fan of Napoleon Hill. I've spoken about that before. I think he was a charlatan. But even though that was definitely the case, he had some great ideas. And one of his best ideas was his imaginary council, or, invisible council idea, where basically he would summon people that he respected and famous people, U.S. presidents and Thomas Edison, people like that. And he would have conversations with them imaginatively. And I mean, frankly, I think that's how he came up with Think and Grow Rich, is that he pretended these conversations that he had in his mind, he pretended that they really happened. I'll put a link in the description so you know more of what I'm talking about. But imaginatively, you can have a conversation with somebody that you respect and that you love and that you have received a lot of good advice from. You know, if you've listened to somebody like Neville on YouTube or read his advice in his books, why not have an imaginary conversation with Neville? Why not have Neville in the room with you, answering your questions, providing you solutions and advice for what you want? You can do this with anybody you want to. You can do this with Jesus if you want to. You know, for me, I often go to my quiet room, my imaginative quiet room that we've discussed, you know, that Maxwell Maltz recommends going to on a regular basis. In my quiet room, I often have Emile Coué come and talk to me. I find that very helpful because I respect and understand Coué's approach so well at this point because I've been, you know, into his stuff for so long. I find it very easy to have a conversation with him or for him to tell me stuff. And if you're not into these law of attraction principles and, you know, you hear this, you might think this is just, you know, nutty. But listen, this is about using your imagination. And you can very easily do exercises like this where you're having a conversation with somebody, whether it's out loud while you're taking a walk, or whether it's imaginatively while you're relaxed in a nice, calm place and you're kind of just vibing out, taking it easy, relaxing into the moment. And then you bring your friend or teacher or counselor or whoever there and have a conversation with them. And it doesn't have to be a rushed conversation. The conversation will just flow and come naturally if you let it. Again, emphasize the relaxation you feel, how calm and nice this conversation seems to be when you're doing an imaginal exercise. And it just is very, very helpful. Now, when you're having a conversation out loud and you're walking, it doesn't necessarily have to be this relaxed. It can be animated. Perhaps if you imagine that you're giving your friend advice about their problem, and of course this problem is really your problem, but you're now pretending it's a friend who has the same issue. Perhaps you get loud and are very animated. Perhaps you even yell and are angry. That's all okay. The point is that we're providing ourselves a different imaginal perspective to help resolve and neutralize issues that are bothering us. And this is very, very profound sometimes. And it's something you can build upon. So the first imaginary conversation you have with somebody might not feel that, you know, natural or realistic, but give it time and it builds. Very, very practical. And just another way that we can utilize talking to ourselves, whether it be quietly when we're in a relaxed space, or as I often like to do, out loud, talking, you know, out loud to myself and seeing the change happen quickly because of that.